them talk if they want to.
And welcome to Let Them Talk. I'm Paul DiRienzo.
And I'm Miss Jo Marie Musi.
And our guest is Curt Hoppe, a great artist who's going to tell us his secrets to surviving in the Lower East Side and thriving in the East Village, Lower East Side neighborhood, which is as much a part of your story as your incredible art. You are a realism painter, a hyper-realist.
I'm a realist.
Painter?
I paint realistic, yeah. But I'm not giving away any secrets.
And also,
come here to spill the beans.
And also a photographer.
Yeah. I'm a photographer. I'm also a photographer. I'm a painter and photographer, and all around bon vivant.
Well, we're looking actually behind us on the screen. You can see some of your work right off of your webpage. And, that is hyper. What is hyper-realism? How is it, or is that different? Is that just do you accept that term, hyper-realism?
Well, actually, I don't really. I mean, it exists. I don't 100% accept it. It's just very realistic painting. But I came out of the era of pop, where I was into the soup cans, and I just wanted to take it one step further and become more like the camera. But I basically spend a lot of time on the subject, just so because I care. Whatever I'm painting, I care about.
Mm-hmm. Now, did you start with photography and get into painting?
Yeah, I was a photographer originally, but I hated dark rooms, and somehow I took up painting. I took up painting after seeing Chuck Close's head at the Walker Art Center many, many years ago, 1970.
So you were inspired?
Mm-hmm. Well, I was inspired, but I liked the painting a lot. It takes a lot to inspire. I don't get inspired by too much.
Right. Well, tell us. Go ahead, Johnny.
And did you go to art school, or
no? No, I'm pretty much self-taught. I went to the University of Minnesota, but I dropped out, and because I didn't want to teach, and I really wasn't getting anything else out of it. So, about 6 months before I was to graduate, I said, "I'm leaving this."
I quit.
I quit. No point in being here.
And is that when you came to New York?
Yeah. Well, no. I originally came to New York in 1968. And, hung out here for a few years, the summer of love, all that kind of stuff, and got myself into, certain situations, unlike the Kennedy kids. And I had to go back to Minnesota for a while, and then I came back in 1975 and I moved down to the Bowery.
Mm-hmm. And tell us, how is that, has the Lower East Side been a particular inspiration to you? I mean...
Well, I've done a lot of paintings of Little Italy early on. I kind of paint where I am at the time, and I love Little Italy. Sure. It was like a stage set, and I got to know that. But then after I'd painted everything in Little Italy I wanted, I moved on to something different. Mm-hmm. But I just love the neighborhood. It's a fantastic neighborhood. I know lately it hasn't been so great, but
we'll talk about that later.
That's another story.
Yeah.
So you've done like urban landscapes, basically. In the painting.
Urban landscapes. But I used to do a lot of nudes too. And when I originally moved here in '75, I got a job working for Al Goldstein at Screw Magazine.
All right.
I did a portrait of him, and he liked it so much he offered me a job.
Right.
And I beat cleaning bars, so I went to work for Screw, and had the dubious honor of doing about 300 centerfolds for them.
So those crazy centerfolds are your work?
Well, they were at that time.
Yes.
I never. I mean, I had fun because they were political, and I could do sexual political stuff.
Right.
But for me, that wasn't the actual illustration wasn't the thing. What was important for me is to see it in print. I sold all the boards that I had. Wished I hadn't. But for me, just to I wanted to see the immediacy of the work, and because Screw is a weekly,
right,
I could see the latest idea. And now, I mean, you can do the same thing on the internet instantly. But if I had a political story, I mean, the world was slower back then, so it actually could wait a week before you wanted. If Kennedy or Jimmy Carter or Reagan had done something at the time, there was enough time for me to do it really quick in a couple of days and then get it into the next issue of Screw.
Right.
And I had a great deal of success with it.
What was Al Goldstein like to work for?
Al's a good guy. I mean, a lot of people think Al's a scumbag, but the truth of the matter was that he.
I didn't. I thought he was a funny guy.
He was a very funny guy, and the one thing, never with Al always paid you on time. He wasn't so much.
That's a good thing.
But the check was always there, unlike a lot of other publishers in this city that I don't want to mention because I don't want to wind up in the East River.
I hear you. So tell me how. So that's great. So did you have any of those incredible dust-ups with him? Did he ever
No, I never.
bring you up on his show? Like I remember. So
No. Alan,
that would almost be an honor.
I had a terrific. No, I had a good relationship with Al.
Yeah, good.
I did a lot of. I did a lot of things for him. I did some personal things for him.
Mm-hmm.
Painted his family, knew his kids, his wives.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I had a lot of fun with him.
Mm-hmm.
Goldstein was a character. I liked him. I still like him too.
Uh-huh. So then you went from. So you worked right here on the back end of cable in a way, working on doing artwork and stuff for a cable show for a guy who did a magazine connected to a radio
Well,
show.
yeah, but because I was doing so much stuff for Screw, and I mean a lot of stuff for Screw, I wound up getting with a lot of other men's magazines.
Mm-hmm.
You name them, I did them. And at one point, Larry Flint was ripping things off from me, and they were appearing in Hustler, and I got pissed off about it, and he wasn't paying me. So the way I got to Flint was I did a parody of myself as a quadriplegic with a paintbrush in my mouth and photographed myself about a painting that I did of one of his centerfolds. And I told him, I said, Larry, Al discovered me in the occupational therapy room at Bellevue and offered me this job to help pay my medical bills and colostomy bags. And then I told him, Larry, come on, colostomy bags aren't cheap. So about, 2 weeks later after this thing, I got a call, and it was Larry Flint. And he said, I want you to work for me. I was in touch with my art director, Bruce David. Oh, okay. So I talked to Bruce David and this and that. So they called me up, and I started doing illustration for them. Uh-huh. And one of the funniest points of the thing was one time I got to the phone, I was talking on the phone, and he says, well, how do you always get to the phone so fast? And those idiots actually thought it was fun.
You forgot you had
I never told him I wasn't, So that was kind of funny. But Larry Flint was good to work for, too. I had fun working for them.
Sure.
But eventually it's not something I wanted to do, for the rest of my life, but it paid the bills like I was beat cleaning bars.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which I have done.
Haven't we
I
all?
want to see another ladies' room as long as I live.
What's the next step after?
Man, you guys really got to watch it with the John.
Well, right now, don't forget,
Yeah.
Curt
Well,
has
should we
a
jump to
piece
the
at
present?
the Woodward Gallery.
Yeah. Well, let's talk.
Oh, the Woodward Gallery.
Yeah,
Yeah,
let's talk
down
right
on
now. Right now.
Eldridge
Then I'll go
Street.
back
The
to
Woodward Gallery, 2011.
Yep.
Great exhibition that's up right now.
It's 20 artists who've never shown before at the Woodward.
Right, never
And,
shown before at the Woodward, and I had the honor that they picked me to be one of the artists, and I had done a big portrait of the mayor of the Lower East Side, basically, is Clayton Patterson.
That's right.
Yeah.
Who I've
beautiful
known,
painting.
my head right here. So.
Someone
That's your
I've
picture.
known for.
Now that picture is incredible. I mean, it's not
years.
just. I mean, this doesn't do it.
That's a painting.
Yeah,
It's a painting.
Right,
Painting.
right. That's what I mean.
Just a second, as Armand's secretary would say, it's a work of art. That is true.
Right, but
It's not a painting.
Don't
it's
forget
a work,
that.
It's a
It's not a
work,
picture.
a work of
it's not
art.
a picture. Right. No,
And
I
if you
love
want
it.
to see it, it's at the on Eldridge Street at the Woodward Gallery, and that's right below Delancey Street. So definitely check it out.
But what's cool is that it's like larger than life size.
Yeah, Clayton's a big guy, but this is a lot bigger than
But it's
Clayton.
bigger,
Right,
yes.
right. Did he have to actually? Did you photograph him and then paint from the photograph, or did he pose?
Yeah,
for
he
it?
came over. He and Elsa came
Yeah.
over, and I photographed them. I'm doing a whole series of all my old friends. I'm getting old now, so I feel like I've got to give something back to my group, and also, it's kind of like the oral. It's like the Torah. It's like talking about the Torah, the oral tradition, or whatever.
Right.
The oral, is that the right word? The oral. How do the
Oral,
Jews do it?
oral.
They pass it on word.
So what's your webpage?
So I'm going to pass it on, CurtHoppe.com. But you're better off going to Woodward and seeing the stuff at the Woodward Gallery. I mean,
Right.
that's kind of thing. But here's like,
Yeah, you can go right up there. Be careful, go right to the camera. You're holding it. There it
There
is.
you go.
Everybody can see it. Beautiful. Beautiful.
these iPhones.
It
Thank
is
you,
beautiful.
Steve Jobs.
And you're
That's
doing
it.
a whole series of these, I guess you would call them monumental paintings?
They're monumental, yes, but they're, like I say, they're my friends and people that I've known and crossed paths with. It's not like, break bed with everybody every day, but some of them I've been around for a long time, and they were all back basically the period is going to be kind of like from 1975, 76 to about 1982, when the Bowery was really, the way I look at it, was like Florence. And we really had just an incredible amount of talent and art and everything working together, all of it, making wonderful art that has basically changed culture for the last 30 years. I mean, they're walking around, these kids, they're thinking they're punk or this and that, blah, 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 this day, but they don't have the fucking idea what it's all about. They think they think they do.
Well, let's talk about the Bowery, because you've lived now in the Bowery, in the same place in the Bowery for all these years?
35 years.
Not unusual in this neighborhood. Once you get a place, you keep it, if it's a nice enough place. And
Yeah, but I was back in the days when you had they had the artists. It was I can't say it wasn't
Artist housing,
but the housing between artists and the landlords. And they were renting out buildings that were illegal, and so I was involved with a group of the lower Manhattan loft tenants, who were very helpful and instrumental, along with the great Sheldon Silver. I don't know if he's going to want me having bring up his name, but
there we go.
But it really helped the artists a lot in the Lower East Side.
Great.
And they got together with the politicians, and they had a law that basically that they had to convert these lofts to living spaces, and that the artists could actually remain. But unfortunately, I mean, they've dwindled down. I don't even. Are there any artists left in Soho? I never go over there, so I wouldn't know.
Yeah, right.
Hard to
I
imagine.
can't imagine.
I know there's a lot of clothing stores and shoe stores, but
Right.
one of my
Big
snooze fell
boutiques.
out of my pocket.
Yeah. Oh, there.
Oh, no, here it is.
Here it is behind you. So let's
Thank you, Mayor Bloomberg. This is what I'm reduced to: chewing snooze.
No smoking
This is
allowed.
$10 to $12 a pack, right?
No, this is
No, it's
only
'cause you're not allowed to
$4.89, but
smoke.
this delivers about 12 milligrams of nicotine right through my bloodstream and my lip, and I don't have to spit. It's the latest.
Wow.
Okay, smokers, there's your tip.
There
you go.
Right there. We have a secret.
There's
we finally
the
got to a
secret.
secret of surviving. Do you drink coffee too?
Oh, lots of it. I don't drink anymore, so I drink a lot of coffee.
Right.
I pick that up in meetings.
Right.
You go to a meeting, and afterwards you have the cake and the cookies.
Speaking of bars and drinking, you spent a lot of time at CBGB's?
Oh, I had many an evening. I think
Back when CBGB's was
the
CBGB's.
CBGB's in the Mug Club was probably the ruination of my first marriage.
Tell us. Pray tell.
We grew apart.
Yeah. So tell us.
Well, she slept and you were.
Well, no, she was a nurse. We had erratic hours. She was a real nice girl. I don't talk about the dead, but I think that was I spent a lot of time at CBGB's. Knew the bands, like the
And
bands,
the
Mug Club.
Ramones and
This would be in the 70s, right? Mid-70s, late 70s?
Late 70s, early 80s. And then kind of followed through. I sort of gave up going to the clubs probably after.
Did that influence your art for a while, CB's and that whole scene?
Oh, sure, the whole scene was great.
Yeah.
I did a painting once of the Ramones, and we took the photograph. I was working with a couple of photographers named Mark Miller and Betty Ringma. You might check out Mark's site, 98bowery.com. I've got to get all these.
right.
2011, the Woodward Gallery, got it in. And
CurtHoppe.com.
at CurtHoppe.com. I'm
HOPPE.
better off with the Woodward Gallery. I get too much spam. Don't email me. And so I don't want any email.
Please don't email.
I get believe me, I don't want any more. So anyway, where was I? I was working with Mark and Betty, and we were doing we collaborated on a project called Paparazzi Self-Portraits. And we were paparazzis, and we'd walk around and we'd take pictures of famous people. But the twist on it is that we were always in the picture with the famous person.
Yeah.
All right.
So it was kind of like dope by association. People. So they see all these pictures of you with all these famous people, and everybody, they're so superficial, they just automatically assume you know
That
them.
you're close personal
So
friends.
everybody wanted to know you. So anyway, and then you get to meet people. That's how I met Al Goldstein, and then I did the Ramones, and I took this big painting of the Ramones over to. CB's,
right?
and they all autographed the painting, and Betty autographed.
What do they
the
think
painting.
about that? I saw the picture. They seemed, some of the Ramones, some of the folks seemed a little bit like,
They didn't know what
what's going on here?
They didn't make it.
Who's that woman? Who's Betty?
I think they got. Well,
I
Betty
love
was like
Betty.
the ultimate fan. Betty was an I think she kind of represents the ultimate fan in the painting. But that was fun. We did that for a long time, and
Right.
and
Where is
then
that
they
painting
went
now?
over. It was recently purchased for a lot more money than I sold it originally.
Uh-huh. Oh, really? Where's it sitting? What do you?
No, I know. Let's not get into that.
Okay.
I've got enough problems.
I'm just curious. So were you a starving artist who was ripped off at the beginning of your career, like so many have?
No,
been
I
since the
don't.
days?
No. I can't complain. I've sold a lot of things that I wished I would have wished I'd kept, but I needed the dough at the time, and like I said, cleaning bars.
Absolutely.
And I was actually making money back then. There were a lot of friends of mine didn't make any money, and they had to move around, and because I did this, but I wound up selling them. I needed money for certain habits and stuff like that, so I sold the stuff. At the time, it wasn't cheap, and I was getting paid pretty good. Other than Al, but on time, and I was doing very well with some other magazines. But I was able to churn it out. I mean, I was really, I was a hack.
Well, that's commercial art, right? Keep it coming.
Well,
on
yeah,
a
no.
deadline
They would call me when they needed something done fast because the guy they hired just didn't get the job done right, and I could come up with something pretty
How would
quick.
you distinguish the stuff that you just characterize as hack? Or I don't think it's any of your stuff, but
No, that was great art. Actually, I looked at it and I wish I had it.
Yeah.
No, it was all great. I didn't, but I didn't think about it at the time because I was trying to be do more formal work, and I was, like I said, I was doing a lot of nudes at the time, and I don't know, whatever interests me, whatever gets me going. So this I did Little Italy, and then I can't even remember half of them. I spent a lot of time during a period of time out in the Hamptons where I painted all the Hamptons.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that, East Hampton. Tell us about your East Hampton experience.
The Hamptons were great.
From the Bowery to the Hamptons.
Yeah, well, it was great. I was doing better. Could afford it.
All right, summer in the Hamptons.
And
right?
so, yeah, I would go out in the summer in the Hamptons, and I kind of got away from things, and I don't know, but that got to be Lululand now. I prefer.
But it had that same
the
artistic
city.
because did it have the same effect on you that it's had on so many artists who've gone out there and the beautiful
No,
scenery?
not really. It had nothing to do with that.
Yeah.
I brought a different perspective to it. A lot of the local artists are pretty good out there, but they paint these generic fields, and you could buy it. You may as well paint the field in Iowa, or you could paint the field. You could put the say East Hampton, but you wouldn't know where it was because there was nothing that identified it. But everything that I painted out there had something in it that was personal to me. And so it was very personal.
Right. Well, there's a lot of
you
your
knew exactly where it was. But I took a city perspective.
Yeah.
Someone who went on the weekends as opposed to a local and brought it, and brought it back.
Right.
But it turned out that all the guys with the dough had the same perspective I did.
There you go.
So, oh my God, I feel like Ahab here. I'm getting all caught up.
All tangled.
So,
We're standing up.
So, as you know, something I was looking at your website, and for example, I love the two New York Post delivery trucks next to each other.
Yeah.
I never thought of that as art, but they are beautiful trucks, or at least they were.
Well, they were like the old time, movie trucks and that kind of thing. I did a rap video for that. And we had my friend Al Giacomo used to work with Screw Magazine. I wish I could get this video back. I think he's got it on tape someplace. It was me. We got this guy up that he used to teach music up in the Bronx, and we got this guy, and his name was Equan. And Equan wrote this whole thing about read it in the Post, and we had this whole rap. It was but this was early on. This was and I had Equan rapping this thing about the Post. And I had this thing in front of these stupid Post trucks. Right. And we kind of flashed the painting with the real trucks and this kind of thing. It was very funny.
Yeah.
Right. It was fun. I had a good time. It was a good painting. I think the painting's over in Europe now. Because I had a gallery over in Paris, and they got offered the painting, and some, I think in Amsterdam.
Are you more popular in Europe than in the United States, or equally, or not?
I'm popular everywhere.
Yeah. But, are some artists like they find themselves like really
like Jerry Lewis?
No, Mickey Rourke.
Okay.
Well, that's probably not so good either.
So let's talk about neighborhood politics for a while, housing and all of that. How do you think the neighborhood's changed in the years you've been there? Lower East Side, Bowery neighborhood.
Well, I
for
like
the better, for the worse.
I prefer the old drunks.
Yeah.
To the new drunks, but because you could reason with the old drunks. They were actually.
What
very
happened
nice
to
guys.
all those guys?
Wow.
That used to be on Houston and the Bowery.
I know Jerry, one guy, Jerry, the doorman. he got run over by a sanitation truck, but it wasn't that bad. He went to the hospital, and then he had to quit drinking, of course, and he wound up getting a huge settlement out of the city. The last I saw him, he was down in the Bowery. He came. This was a long while ago. I said, Jerry, you're down in the Bowery. What are you doing? Oh, he went up and he bought a little apartment up in the Bronx or something like that, and he was taken care of. Jimmy didn't wind up. I think he got a truck ran over his head.
Oh.
But, I mean, they were all quite a bunch of characters. We used to have a bar called Al's in my building, and that was kind of a place. When I used to drink, I used to go down and get these. They sold quarts of Schaefer, classy stuff, and I would, keep running up and down the stairs. And my fondest memory is the place I got sucker punched by this midget in there, and he broke 2 of my ribs. I was lucky I was drunk enough
to take it.
Yeah. Right. So you could actually come down to a Bowery bar in the first floor of your own apartment building. That's
Well,
kinda
yeah,
cool.
I didn't, believe me, I didn't drink there. I just brought the liquor out and,
Right.
you know,
go.
upstairs.
Right.
Yeah, I was
Take
like,
out.
Interesting.
sit around with the
Things
guys.
like that
I
don't
did a few
exist in New
times,
York
but
anymore. You have to go to the wilds of the farthest corners of New York to find
Well, it
that kind of
doesn't
thing
exist.
anymore.
Yeah, you can't. I don't think it does exist in New York anymore. You probably now got to go to you know,
Right.
Texas.
Well, there's probably a boutique version of it, like make believe you're in the Bowery in 1969 or something.
That's actually good. It's kind of sad in a sort of way. I was just reading some guy for Crow Magnum. I don't know what the group was, but he's not the only one. Patti Smith.
The Cro Mags.
Yeah, the Crow Mags. The
Yeah.
singer in there just said that New York's lost its edge. I totally agree with him. Patti Smith, I totally agree with. Find a new city. I had some friends that just visited New Orleans,
Yeah.
and they said that's good. And I kind of like the idea. This is new. Used to be New York. And so then you got New Orleans is kind of nice, so maybe people will move
That's
there.
where I'm from.
That'll be. I think that might be good because he says it's really they've got artists and there's people from
Oh, it's
Williamsburg moving down there.
beautiful.
But then I was talking to some people yesterday. He says, "Well, what do you want to move there for? It's going to get we'll wash into the ocean or something."
Right, hot, humid. There's a lot of things.
Here, let
down
me
there.
fix this for
Yeah,
you.
fix that for
It's
me.
all right. It's working fine. We can hear you. Oh, there
Am
you
I
go.
being esoteric enough? We gotta figure
Yeah,
out
no, it's
just-
great.
You're
Well,
doing
tell us,
just fine.
How do you go about what's the thinking process? Like something like the like the artwork that's behind my
The
head
series
right now.
you're working
yeah,
on
yeah,
now.
yeah, the series.
That
yeah,
blue
you can see-
thing?
Yeah, that blue thing right there.
Eve
right.
Klein.
Yeah, right. How do you go about doing that? Do you like literally paste up a photograph and look at it and then measure things out?
I
or
do
you
some
by eye?
projection. I
Yeah.
usually just at this point in my life, I can just pretty much sketch it. I'm looking at the TV thing,
Yeah.
and I'm sketching. I sketch it out, and I just started working on the way down, and kind of like compare to the photographs. But I've been doing it for 40 years, and gotten pretty. I know pretty much what I'm doing. That's one thing Screw did for me. It taught me how to paint quick. I had to because I constantly had to knock
You had
stuff
a
out.
deadline,
So
yeah.
I got good at doing things without having to think too much.
Right.
Well,
about
tell
it.
us about some of the other people that you've painted already in the same series with
Well, I did
Clayton.
my buddy Arturo Vega,
Okay.
who's Ramones. You got the Ramones T-shirt, Arturo Vega, and I just finished up with a person, Curt Thomas, who's a private librarian. Really interesting, smart guy. Is also an author. He's got Jamel Terrace bookstores. Put in another plug.
Okay.
Woodward Gallery, 2011,
Yep.
Eldridge Street.
And that show goes until the 23rd of
Don't
July.
go to my website.
So,
What?
Don't go to the website. But the show at the Woodward goes until the 23rd
I think
of
it's the
July.
23rd of
so,
July. That's
yeah.
correct.
So if you want to see the piece, get down
You got to
there.
go down and see Clayton. And
It's so
if
beautiful.
you call in advance and say you're coming down, maybe they'll call up Clayton and you can come over and get your picture with him.
Right. Standing, we got our picture. We were taking pictures like
Clayton will
crazy of
come
ourselves
by,
standing
right?
in front of that. How long does it take to paint like Clayton's picture? It's something that large.
2-3 months. 2-3 months. I can churn it up a little bit, but I don't like to because this bunch of paintings I'm going to do is going to take a long time. I'm probably going to be doing a full exhibition with them next year of all of them, and it's going to be quite a group of artists that were around down then. I mean, these are all they're worth it,
By the way,
Oh, it's gonna be
if folks have
beautiful.
a question for Curt Hoppe, you can call the numbers on the screen.
Oh, this is a call-in show also?
Well, if people call in, if they ever
I don't know if I want that.
212-757-1538 and want to ask them
I don't have
questions,
any money. I
find
no
out-
child
Yeah.
support.
Okay, so just call and we'll take your question if we can.
Anybody out there?
Anybody out there? So tell us a little bit more about contact information, your websites, all that kind of thing. Let's have that again.
Well, again, my website's kurthoppe.com. But it's
Don't
probably,
contact.
but don't contact me there.
Yeah.
I got enough email. And Woodward Gallery
Yeah,
on Eldridge Street.
just below Delancey.
And that would be probably the place to contact. Bug them. Tell them you got to see my work.
Right.
Just phone
Okay.
24/7.
Right.
And other than that, that's probably about it.
All right. So what's next? What's next for Curt Hoppe? What's next?
I don't know.
You're gonna stay
We'll
here.
see.
Good question.
You're gonna,
I could get hit by a car walking home.
well, we
I
hope
mean,
not, because you probably have a lot of great art left in you.
I do. I have a few things left to do.
Is there
You never
any
know.
sort of area after you get your fill of doing friends and people who've helped you over the years? What are you looking at?
Oh, I don't. No, I don't. I'm not up that far yet at all.
No.
This is a big project, and the more I get into it, it becomes more involved. This could be my swan song for all I know. I have no idea.
Is there any?
I'm very excited about it. What?
Is there any one person you would want to paint? If you had your druthers, you could make anybody come and give you their picture to paint. Not just one you got out of the newspaper, magazine, or something, but somebody would actually come, sit for a photograph, and have you paint them, who would it be?
Oh man, that's a good question. Well,
Took me a half hour to come up with it. So.
I don't, I don't know. Linda Evangelista.
Oh, boy.
Wow.
I think I'll wear a blonde
How old is
wig
she
when
now,
I
about
come.
40? No, I suppose the president would be nice. He's going to be busy this next year.
Right. Oh, what do you think?
I'm not planning
The
on seeing
campaign
him. He's
is-
not coming down anytime too soon, right?
Right.
Although I saw him out here, actually.
You never know.
Well, what did
During
you
the
think of
primaries.
that whole the controversy over the Hope posters and the
Oh,
artists?
there's too much politics and all that stuff. I don't want to get involved with any other artists. I've got my own,
Yeah.
my opinions about it. I love all art. I support the arts. Everybody's an artist.
Do you
We're
like
all
the
artists.
what do you when you want to go to see art? Where do you go usually? Do you get in the mood to go? Do you get in the mood and go to a place?
No.
Go to MoMA, Met?
I like to go visit the permanent collections when they're up at the museums, because then I get a little bit of potpourri of everything, and I'm happy.
Right.
Just seeing that on these blockbuster shows, I don't care too much. I forget what the last good show I saw was. It was at the Jewish Museum of all places. I think it was maybe. It was Modigliani. Modigliani is mad at me because every time I go to Paris, I go visit his grave, and this last time I didn't go visit and put some stones on it. I got the Modigliani curse on my back.
But you went to the show.
Yeah, I know it. It was a great show. I thanked him for it because it was a really nice show. But that was quite a few years ago. I think it was 5 or 6 years ago. So that's actually the last good show I've seen. But he's got a very nice grave. If you ever get to Père Lachaise, go there. It's terrific.
In Paris.
In Paris.
Well, we got a minute and a half. Anything you'd like to add to the last minute?
Woodward Gallery, Eldridge Street.
It's a great show.
It is. It's
It goes till the
exciting.
23rd
wish
of
folks could
July.
come
Get
to
out
the
there
opening.
and vote.
Is there going to be a closing party? Because the opening party was cool. I mean, it was very much fun.
I don't know.
Yeah,
the opening
I
was
got my
great.
phone. We could call
You could
John
call
and
Christine.
ask.
Yeah, we could talk them into doing
When's
it.
the next party?
Yeah, that would be good.
Because it was a great party, and all you guys to see all you guys there, and to take photographs of the artists and the
Yeah, it
actual
was fun.
subjects of the
It
art.
was
Well, it was
fun.
a wonderful
Yeah.
exhibit.
They're not as
because-
fun as they used to be because I can't smoke and I don't drink anymore. So
Right.
it's basically
You have to
Well,
stand
good for your liver,
outside,
All right,
right?
good for your liver. All right, we have half a minute. I know. It's tough. It's a glass
run out
half
the
minute.
clock.
All the
To
things.
say.
So let's run out the clock with something. What's your favorite color?
orange red.
Now, how come have you used that in these paintings? It's not that much
Well,
orange.
black
No, those
black
are
is
black
not really
and white.
considered a color, and white.
Yeah. So
Black
those
is
aren't even
all
color.
color, and
Uh-huh.
white is no color.
Right.
But I mean, if I had to pick a color, I guess I like orange red. I don't know why that popped into my brain.
That's a beautiful
I like whatever. I guess orange. We'll stick with orange red.
Okay.
Great.
And nail polish. I hate reddish. I hate blue nail polish, and I like the orange red.
Okay.
Because I was grew up in the 50s, I developed that fetish.
You don't like
back
that
then.
yellow, green, all those funny colors on
I
it.
want it to be
Thank you,
normal.
Kurt Hoppe, for joining us. Hot
Very
Pink
nice,
Thank
very
you.
nice meeting
Right.
you. Very nice. Do we keep talking afterwards like we're going off the air?
Doesn't matter.